Welcome to Session 9. Now it's time to transition into the endocrine glands and how they adapt to stress. Recognizing endocrine gland stress is the basis for producing successful individualized diet, supplement, and exercise programming. In this session, we will cover sources of stress, understanding the stress response, introduction to hormones, the hormone stress response, stress adaptation, hormone feedback loops, nutrition in the stress response, the nervous system connection, the nervous system stress response, nervous versus hormonal interaction, and an introduction to the endocrine glands.
Hello, this is Dr. Annette Schipple. We're going to cover the introduction to the stress response and endocrine glands. What is stress? In this session, what we want to look at is how stress affects the body, what's supposed to happen when we're in an appropriate stress response, but more importantly, what goes on when stress is prolonged? How does it affect our system? How does it start to throw things off? And what does it lead into? And this is just a really important basic concept we want to get as we're looking at balancing the endocrine system. We have sources of stress that affect our body. One of the sources we can think about is the social stress, how we interact with people or individuals in our environment or when we're out and about. And we also have mental stress, and mental can also come into looking at emotional stress as well. This is our thoughts, constant worry, maybe anxiousness, unhappiness, could be in a job that we're unhappy with or in an unhappy relationship, divorce, death. Things like that would actually tie back into emotional or mental stress. We can also have physical stress, and that can present in a couple different ways. It could be the job that is physically demanding, that is causing overexertion, the person who exercises too much, as well as the person who doesn't exercise enough. So anything that engages our body in a physical way can be a stress as well. And then lastly, we have environmental stress. Now this can include toxins in our environment, pollution, poor water, xenohormone exposure that we get in plastics or maybe in cosmetics, as well as our diet. If our diet is not clean, then that's another form of an environmental stress to our body. Understanding the stress response. It is key that we understand how our body is responding to stress. And we adapt to stress using our endocrine and our nervous system. Our endocrine system is a group of glands and organs that produce hormones that regulate the stress response and homeostasis in the body. Glands use a combination of hormones and nerve impulses to communicate with each other. Glandular communication is regulated by nutrient concentrations in the blood and negative feedback mechanisms that up or down regulate hormonal production in the body. Excess stress and nutrient deficiency can alter the feedback loop, creating an environment of too little or too much hormone production. Thus, communication between glands become impeded and symptoms progressively emerge. What we're explaining here is what goes on with chronic and prolonged stress. To go further into understanding the stress response, we want to talk about staging. Now, staging is used to indicate to the client the impact of the aggregate amount of stress experienced in particular glands and organ systems. The increasing amount of unresolved stress, think chronic prolonged stress, that's placed on the individual over time leads to intensification of physiological dysregulation and an elevated chronic disease potential.